All right, you guys. So I know in the original post, I said we were going to do chapters 6 through 10, but we kind of talked today, and we really think we're just going to do chapters 6, 7, and 8 and really, really focus on those at least this week and maybe even the next week as well, because this honestly is where a lot of either you kind of make it or you don't in these first 3 baby steps. If you can make it through these first 3 baby steps, usually the behavior is changed enough that the rest of the steps just kind of fall in line. But this is where the majority of families struggle. And it's the hardest part to really get that behavior changed. And so we're really going to spend the majority of the time, probably for the rest of it, in these chapters. And we really want to know, like, if you guys have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or if there's something you're not understanding, unmute yourself and ask, or type it in a chat if you don't feel comfortable talking, because this is a lot, but this is literally the most important part of the entire thing. So we have really kind of made it through, the groundwork and laying the foundation for how we think about money and all those things, but now we're actually getting to okay, so we are changing the way we think. Now what do we actually do to get out of debt and to set our families up well financially? So and Nathan, I'm glad you're back tonight. It's good to have you on here as well. So we're really just kind of going to go through this kind of conversationally back and forth. Again, if you guys have questions, please ask them, because that's what we're here for. And this, I don't feel like there's really any part of terms in here. So when you get to retirement and things like that, that stuff doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but this stuff is pretty basic. But it's so important. And the thing I love, so there are so many parallels again between this and especially in the first few steps where you're doing just the baby steps. He literally calls them baby steps, but you do it and you do step 1 and then you go into step 2, but it's just these small changes made over time, or these small actions over time that, sorry, am I crowding you out?
Sorry, I'm late to the party.
You are. That really add up and make, the big difference. And it's the same thing with your business. Sometimes you're doing all the baby steps, and sometimes you don't realize you're actually making progress, but you really are when you look back and you're like, whoa, how did we get here? And it kind of snowballs and it adds up, and if you stay consistent, then eventually you look back and you're like, look, we did all that, but you didn't really realize what you were doing when you're going through it. So I'm super excited to dive into this, because it really is it's the most important part. These next 3 chapters are the most important part. So hopefully you have your book. Hopefully you've gone through them and you read them so that you know what we're talking about. But chapter 6, okay, very, very, very first step is to get a $1,000 emergency fund in cash, liquid emergency fund that you can get to.
Don't allow that to freak you out.
Yeah.
Because I remember, no joke, paycheck to paycheck.
I was like, that's going to take us a year. I don't even know if we're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, so your initial gut reaction is to say, well, how in the world do we pull that off? Mm-hmm. And then you think, well, we do have probably $400 or $500 worth of clothes in your closet that you don't wear. Shoes, we could sell something and make some money. We can I hate to use the word sacrifice. We can sacrifice a little here and there, and that 1,000 is going to come pretty quickly. I promise you. This is the hardest step. You probably already said that, and it's the step that most people make a U-turn and go right back into living the lifestyle they were already living. Step 1 is truly the hardest one.
Yeah. So with that, okay. So what is an emergency? I think you really have to talk about that. What is an emergency? Christmas is not an emergency. Birthdays are not an emergency. Kids' clothing, not an emergency. Transmission goes out on your car, that's an emergency. Something that you cannot foresee or you cannot predict, that is what an emergency is. If you do not have this set up, he says this 1,000 times in the next couple chapters, if you don't have this emergency fund set up, you will continue to have emergencies and you will continue to have things that throw you off course. So you really, really, this is vitally important before you can go and you can, start tackling your debt and your credit card and your student loans, you have to have this, because what's going to happen as soon as you start putting, your extra that you have every month on your first credit card or on your student loan, something is going to happen. And what are you going to want to do? Swipe your credit card to cover it, right? That's your safety net. Up until now, that's been your safety net. So if you have $1,000 in savings, not your retirement fund. If you have a retirement, you do not touch that. But if you have $1,000 in savings, you get that. And that is your $1,000 emergency fund, cash
dollars.
Liquid. You can get to it in case of an emergency.
That's probably the most important of that 1,000. You have to be able to get your hands on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't put it anywhere.
But you also want it to be not where you're going to like dip into it. If you want to go out to eat, be like, oh, we'll put it back. No, you won't.
Yeah.
He actually tells the story of a woman who went and got, I love this. I'm like, that's genius. She went and got 10 $100 bills, framed them, put them in the back of her coat closet because it was like inconvenience enough that she's not going to just go do it to like go shopping. But if she really had to get to it, she could get to it. Nathan and Ashley,
funny, but cool.
But it's, I mean, that's a genius idea. Do you guys want to talk about kind of how you guys did this? I don't even really remember how we got ours.
We had a garage sale.
I know we had a garage sale. We got rid of some stuff.
I think we made $600 at our garage sale. In the first month, we were eating out all the time. I think
so we just stopped.
We made a commitment that, hey, we're gonna eat out X amount of times less this month. And that $1,000, you would be shocked with how quickly that comes about. It's unreal where you find money when you start to focus on it. When you start
looking at where you're spending your money already, you can usually find it.
And real quick, before they talk, another thing that this perspective does is it makes you realize what a real emergency is. What I mean by that is, like she said, transmission in your car. I don't even classify that as an emergency anymore, because those things are going to happen. And what Dave says is fate favors the prepared. Okay, so we know that we're going to have issues with our cars. So we have an envelope each month that we add a specific X amount of dollars to, and knowing that down the road we're going to have this emergency that's not really an emergency. We're prepared for what's already coming. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't continue to add to that. We have a number that's on our car repair envelope, and when we've hit that, we stop contributing to it. But we have it there for those car emergencies that really aren't emergencies anymore because we're ready to have them fixed immediately.
Yeah. We did basically the same thing that you guys did. It was funny because we have a hard time remembering our stuff too, because we did it so long ago. But I asked him this afternoon, I said, do you remember how we did our $1,000? And he said, we had a garage sale. We made about $500, kind of close to what you guys did. And then again, just like you, we kind of just cut back on eating out, and just like he talks later on about just kind of finding money in your budget. You just kind of cut little places here and there to find that extra money. Do you remember anything else that we did?
Not really. It's been so long ago. We did set up a separate savings account, which we could get to it if we needed to, but it was hard enough that I know I wasn't going to touch it. So that was kind of a big step for us. I actually have like 5 separate categories now, different savings accounts, for one for Christmas fund and some other junk like that. But having that separate fund was it helped us out, made it a little bit easier.
Something that I read that I wanted to kind of throw in here real quick, which I thought was kind of crazy, but he said 78% of us will have a major negative event in any given 10-year period. We met in 2007 and Brooklyn was diagnosed in 2017. So, I mean, it hit that 10-year mark right on the dot. And I was just like, because we haven't really had any other like big, huge catastrophes or anything like that. And so I was like, I wonder how long that took. And it was exactly 10 years, which was really
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I like highlighted that sentence too. I was like that. And it's so, I mean, that's crazy. It's a crazy statistic. But it's one that's really important because we all are going to have something come up in the next 10 years. It's going to be a big emergency, and hallelujah that you guys are on here now so that you can be prepared for it for when it does happen.
That's the goal. The goal is to be prepared for whatever that is, whatever it is that's coming, and it will come. And I pray that it doesn't come to your family. I mean, that's the hope, but why not be prepared for it just in case, and assuming that it will.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say really quick before we go on, is that I know sometimes like you think your situation is different, or you want to do things a little bit out of order. But these baby steps are designed to set you up, and they work. So stick with them and trust in the process that this is step 1. This is step 2. Don't move. Don't think you need to be saving for college yet if you are still in gobs of debt. Like, make sure that you're doing them in order.
This was another thought that I had today, and you hear him speak about this a little bit, but more on his radio show. Giving up an unhealthy habit that you might have. So we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So I don't know. I mean, if you smoke, getting rid of that is a quick way to get to your $1,000. If you drink, if you eat out a lot, those types of things, try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone if at all possible. That feels really good to do that.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so both us and Ashley mentioned the B word, budget. So in step 1, it is super important to get that habit underway and get it started. You have to start telling every single dollar where it's going prior to you spending it, not looking back at the end of the month and figuring it out. You tell every single dollar where it's going to go. And I know in the first Zoom, we kind of talked about this a little bit. But we'll go through again to reiterate how important this is. So at the beginning of every single month, we take our entire income, and it goes at like the top line item of our budget. Okay, so we know we have X amount of dollars that is coming in this month.
We do it on the 15th. So to make it more, I guess it works friendly, yeah. We do it the day we get prelims. So the day we get prelims, that's the day we do our budget. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. You need to do it as soon as you know when it's coming.
Yeah. So for most people who don't have this as their full-time income, you can do it at the first of every month. So every single month, you tell every single dollar where it's going to go. So when you're trying to get this $1,000, this is where you have to look and see, okay, we usually spend $500 on eating out. Let's be real. That was probably the low end for us when we started. We probably spent way more than that eating out. If we just cut that out alone, that's half of our emergency fund right there. So you have to look and see where every single dollar is going to go. So you have your bills that you're going to have, your mortgage, your phone bill, your utilities, your car payments, your every single thing that you have to pay goes on there. Okay. Then the extras come in. You have to think about, do we have birthdays that we have to pay for? Do we have, do the kids have to have some clothes this month? Do we have whatever it is? There shouldn't be any big surprises that come up. You should really, it's something that you have to take very seriously and really think through. The other thing I'm going to say is in this, these beginning 3 steps, Dave talks a lot about gazelle intensity. Okay. So if you are truly wanting to go all in, you're going to have to go be so focused, and you're going to have to say no to some stuff, which hurts a little bit in the beginning. I feel like once you start getting some results and you start paying off that first credit card and you start paying off the student, it gets easier with time because you're getting those wins. You're getting, it's easier to say no when you're like, oh, but I can cut up that credit card. I never have to pay Sally Mae again on student loans. We paid off the car. But until then, it hurts a little bit. It's kind of like it works, right? You feel like you're doing all this work in the beginning, maybe, and you're not getting the results you want. But when you start getting those wins, it gets a little bit easier to keep showing up for your business, right? Because then you're maybe making a little money. It just feels better when you're getting those wins. So in the beginning, you're going to have to say no to some stuff that you want, which sucks, but the payoff is so great. So when you're going through your budget, maybe you do want to eat out twice a week, but maybe you're going to sacrifice and you're only going to eat out once. Or instead of, going grocery shopping at Meijer, where you would usually spend $500 because you spend $200 in the clothing section or on crap you don't need, you're going to start shopping at Kroger or Aldi or wherever, and you're going to spend half the amount. So really, really knowing where every single dollar is going. If you guys have questions on a budget, feel free to reach out.
When you go grocery shopping too, this is a huge, huge thing. Make a list. Don't just wander around. Don't just wander around and say, oh, we need that, we need that, we need that. Because so when I say make a list and stick to that list. Yeah. Like stick right to it. Now you're going to find something that you actually need that you forgot to put on the list, and that's fine. But just wandering around and saying, oh, I'd like to try this and I'd like to try that. That's not grocery shopping. That's clothes shopping. Okay. So go in there with a game plan, find what is on your game plan and put that in your cart, close your eyes and leave. That's what you've got to do when you go in there.
And for us, you guys, I feel like the budget used to be something, it's so important to sit down and do it with your spouse. If you're married, it is vitally important to the success of your ability to follow these steps. Because you both want to be going towards a common goal. It'll bring you closer together. And sometimes in the beginning, it can be a little bit of butting heads because I want a little bit more over here. But when you're going towards something together, it's one, you're going to have better results, but it also brings you closer together.
It's just like the It Works business, except even more important. Okay. Like this is no matter what, whether or not your spouse wants to do it or not, it's ultra important. It has to happen. You've got to be on the same wavelength. This is a game that you play together. It Works doesn't have to be. Your finances do.
Yeah. If you guys share a joint checking account and you pay bills together, y'all have to be on the same page for this to work.
At least close to the same page, like 6 or 7, like close.
Close. Kunklers, do you guys have anything to throw in there about a budget or doing it together or anything?
I loved how we both said that on our first Zoom, how it brought us closer together. We were working towards a common goal. And I think it's reiterated multiple times throughout these chapters here. Also from the example that they had in the book with Jamie and her budgeting, I loved how she said it took a few months for her to kind of get it right, and that there isn't a perfect budget. So things are going to change. You just have to learn how to change it as well. I feel like you might have some more. I feel like he was kind of like, I was just kind of on board, and you tell me what to do, babe, and I'll do it. And that's how. So I'm glad that he's here. And
I think that's exactly how we were, really.
Yeah. So I mean, I was on board, and I was just like, you just tell me what to do, because he's the nerd of the family. That's what they call it. Either you have a nerd and a spender, or a free spirit. Those are the two. I'm definitely the free spirit. He's definitely the nerd, and he crunched all the numbers and understands all the lingo, and I'm just like, you just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Kind of like my business. You guys tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. Yep, I'll go do it. Something else, I like how they broke down the guidelines to getting started on a budget. And I don't know if you were going to go through that or not, but how you have to set up a budget every single month. It's not you just do it one time and then that's your budget for years and years to come. It's going to change. I think you know that better than I do, because he's the one that kind of does all the paperwork and the spreadsheets. And
real quick, with us it's daily. She might not know it's daily, but I like these spreadsheets. I'm kind of dorky when it comes to the spreadsheets. I type in a number and the whole budget just fires. So but what worked, it took us, at least it took me several months to get it right. So basically I would put together the numbers on the spreadsheet, print it out, we'd go through it, and then she'd tell me, oh, I've got this going on, or I've got this. And then once I would make my little notes, take it back, and then kind of finalize it and have everything ready to go. So, and then as kind of each expenditure would come up, I wouldn't do it, maybe not daily, but I didn't want it to get too far ahead. So I would go through the checking account, kind of look at it, and then I'd realize, oh man, we spent $20 extra here, or $20 extra there. So I'd kind of rework the budget a little bit, take it home to her, say, hey, we spent a little bit too much on this category. And then, so it was kind of just every day ready to go. So
I like how Dave talked about it, and we did this as well. So if we found that we if something small came up that we were like, crap, I forgot, somebody has a birthday and now we have to spend $30 that we weren't planning on, you figure it out together where we're going to take $30 away. So if we have something come up middle of the month, now we're $30 over, we have to not go out to eat and take $30 off of our spending for, food money or something, but you have to work together to find where that money is going to go, because you always have to have your budget at zero. And again, it took us several months to get this right as well. It's not perfect the first few months you try to do it, but you just get better every single time, and you'll start to know what those unexpected expenses are, and then they aren't unexpected anymore. They go on the budget, and you work the numbers, and you will figure it out the more you do it.
I just want to say, for anybody who's like brand new to this concept, the idea of spreadsheets can kind of be cumbersome and maybe turn you away. You don't have to do it on a spreadsheet. A pen and a pad of paper is just fine. And also you think, man, how much time am I going to be putting into this budget? The time chunks away month after month, meaning the first month is going to be the time that you spend the most, the second less, third, so on and so forth, until really we can have our entire budget completely down to the dollar within 8-9 minutes, something like that.
It's pretty, we just know, like now it's just a lot easier.
So don't allow the consumption of time to turn you away from it either, because it is just that important. I mean, I would do it every month if it took me 3 hours to go through it every time. That's how important
it is. One of those things. And it's just like it works. In the beginning, you don't know what you're doing. So you have to spend the time putting the effort in to figure it out. And then once you figure it out, like we can all pump out a post in 5 minutes because we know what we're doing now. So it gets easier over time. But it is, while you're learning it, it's new. So you're learning, and it's going to take a little bit longer, but it's so worth it. So don't let a budget be all scary to you, because it's really it's exciting, and it is the roadmap that's going to get you to where you want to be. So just know that. Okay.
I have a question, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah.
Can you guys maybe touch on how you handle yearly expenses instead of a monthly expense? Like, do you combine them all? Like, for example, like our financial advisor is a yearly bill. I'm just looking at my budget right now. So like our water softener is a yearly bill. Should I take all of those, combine them, make it how much it would be per month to save? Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Whatever suits your budget best is what I would say. In all honesty, if you feel like you have the extra in your budget to knock it out all at once, that's what I would do, just because I hate repetitive bills. So if I could knock it out at once, I would. But if you don't feel like that, then knock it out monthly.
So I think we do it a couple different ways, just based on what the bill is. Like our sewer system is a one-time a year bill. It's a little bit smaller amount. It's like $100 and some. So I know in April of every single year that bill is coming. So that's just on the budget for April. Mm-hmm. Whereas something that's like Christmas, it's coming every year. It's not technically a bill, but it's coming every year. But it's a much larger amount. We take a small amount every single month and put that to the side. So I think it just kind of depends on, monthly, what it looks like. If you have a bill that's just an amount that you could work easily into your budget every single month, or every month that it comes up, like that's fine. But if it's something that's going to be bigger, and it's going to be like, well, I can't afford, $3,000 for Christmas one month, like that's not a surprise. That's a bill that's coming every month. So divide that up over, whether you do it over 12 months, over 6 months, whatever the case may be. It just is one of those things, like you have to just kind of look at and see what makes sense for your specific situation, if that makes sense.
I can be super transparent on 2 items of ours. So 6 months out of the year, we save X number of dollars for Christmas, and then that fund becomes X number of dollars for vacation. So that's how we pay for our long vacation in July, 6 months of saving a certain dollar amount. And then that same dollar amount goes into our Christmas envelope. And we literally take the cash out, we put it in an envelope, and that's how we pay for vacation, so we don't overspend. And then we take that amount, and that's how we pay for Christmas, so we don't overspend.
Yeah, just generally thinking in my brain, like usually if something is a couple $100s a month, that's just a one-time yearly fee. We just work it into our budget for the month that it's due. But if it's, much over that, we probably spread it out. Do you guys have anything that you want to say about that?
I'm like, what do you think? I don't know.
I would do it in multiple ways, because I'm just thinking of different examples for us was like HOA fees at the last neighborhood. It was $400. Now in the beginning, like $400 was a big deal. And I didn't want to divide that out by 12 for monthly or 26 for biweekly. So I would kind of wait for different times of windfalls. One is tax time. I mean, if I could grab a couple $100 out of tax time, I would stick it aside. Or other times, it's just whatever your life situation is, whether it's child support or any type of extra money, or maybe it's you signed a fast start bonus or something. You grab $100, you could grab it there. So sometimes when you're doing the budget, definitely in the beginning, when you have a bunch of debt, when you're paying credit cards, car payments, and all that stuff, then you might not have that extra $25, $30. So ideally, I would like to break it out by nice, easy chunks, but sometimes that's not reality. So I would kind of look for those extra times when maybe you got a little bit extra money coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a real contributing factor, like you said, is the amount. You know what I mean? It really does depend on the amount we're talking about. It's easier to incorporate $100 as it is instead of $500.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that help, Adrian?
It really did. Thank you so much.
Okay, good deal. Okay, so let's see. Is there anything else we need to say about emergencies? It's for emergencies, real emergencies, not things that you could have, not vacation, no cheating.
Not cheating. A Starbucks coffee. That doesn't count.
Your car will need repairs. Your kids will outgrow your clothes. Those things aren't emergencies. They're things that can be expected and should be included in your budget. Let's see. No matter what, you can't go back to credit cards. He does say, he does recommend that if your household income is under $20,000, that you can probably get away with a $500 emergency fund rather than a $1,000 emergency fund. Let's see. No more borrowing. You have to break the cycle. I think that's just a lot of, here's the other thing. He did say, you can keep it in a bank, but it can't be used as overdraft protection, or like your accounts can't be linked, so that if you're like going and you're just swiping your debit card and your checking account's getting low, you're like, oh, it's cool. I can get this because, I have my emergency fund and it'll protect my overdraft. Make sure that they're not connected, because again,
you'll spend it.
If you have easy access to it, you'll spend it. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So once that is in place and you've got your $1,000 emergency fund, then we're getting into step 2, which is the snowball, which I know we've also talked about this a little bit as well.
This is the most fun part you'll ever have in your life.
This is the fun part. Because if you think about, okay, so I know for us, when we were going through this, we felt so strapped every single month prior to paying off our debt. But if you think about the amount of money going out every single month, if you could get rid of that, how much freer you would feel, how much better you would sleep at night. Because instead of paying $3,000 out towards debt and cars and student loans and credit cards, now you have $3,000 in your budget to put towards whatever, like life. Okay. You can just sleep a lot better when you don't have all of that money going out to pay off debt. So debt snowball, you have to know what your debt is. So you have to have it written down. You've got to know exactly to the dollar what you owe on everything. So people you owe. If you owe student loans, credit cards, past IRS debt, any appliances or any furniture, anything that you owe debt on, it has to go on this list. Okay. So, he is a big advocate of starting with your lowest debt, like the smallest amount first. and then working your way up again, because it's all about getting that. You got to get a win. It feels good to win. It feels good to have that gratification of this is working. We're going to, keep going because it's working. So start with your lowest amount first. So say, I'm going to write this down.
It's almost like mandatory that you do that. You do it however you want to, but I promise you that first victory pushes you so much. It feels so amazing when that bill does not show up next month.
This honestly was the most satisfying part of our entire journey. And when we sat down and we looked at all the debt we had, we were like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. We have so much. I don't know how we're ever going to get this all paid off. But y'all, we did it in less than 2 years.
You start taking it off in chunks.
It just starts. Once you get started, it becomes fun and it's addicting. And you're like, oh, we paid that off. Let's go pay off something else. And yeah. Okay. So say I'm just going to go like we have 3 bills or 3 debts. Okay. So every single month.
Call them what they are. Credit card.
Our credit card bill is $200. Our student loans is $250, and our whatever is $400, our car payment. Okay, so for instance, I'm just going to say we only have 3 debts because we're good like that. So we have our credit card is $200 a month, our student loans are $250 a month, and our car payment is $400 a month. Okay. So every single month we're going to do our budget, and we're going to know exactly at the end of everything we have to pay and everything we have coming up this month, we're going to say we have $300 extra.
So you've sacrificed eating out a couple of times. You've decided that you're not going to take, a weekend getaway that you thought you were going to take, and you've saved $300 now.
So
you've got extra money.
At the end of the month, you have all this money coming in. You've got your bills paid. You've got your birthdays covered. You've got everything for that month set. You have $300 extra, okay? You've already got your $1,000 emergency fund saved away, stashed away. So you're going to go ahead and still make your $200 payment on your credit card, your $250 payment on your student loan, your $400 payment on your car payment. But this $300 here is also going to go on your credit card. So you're going to pay.
Because that's your lowest debt.
You're going to pay $500 total on your credit card, okay? So next month, maybe you save a little extra, okay? Next month, maybe you don't have a trip, or you don't have something extra. You don't have birthdays. So next month you came up with $400 extra in your budget. So you're still going to make your $250 student loan payment, your $400 car payment, but that $400 extra now is going to go on this. So you're going to pay $600 total until this debt is paid off. Okay. So then once that's paid off, you now have, so you already were having about $400 extra.
And let's just say you've leveled off there on your extra.
Yeah, we're just going to say you have $400 extra every month in your budget, supposedly. Okay. But now you're going to take this $200 that you were putting on here, plus the $400 that you had extra. So you're putting $600 extra on this payment.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Until that is paid off. Then once that's paid off, you still have the $400 extra, but now you have $450 extra up here once those are gone. So you're putting $850 extra on this payment every single month until that is gone.
So what do you see here? You see that once you pay something off, you pretend like you don't have this money, okay? You're just reallocating it from these line items to this one. That's all you're doing. You don't have this money. It goes here until you have all this money back.
Yep. Does that make sense to everybody, how that works? Yes. It is. It takes massive effort and massive focus, but it is literally the most rewarding part of all
It's really
of this.
fun, though. It's fun work.
It is so fun. Anything you guys want to say about how you did that, or that you found that was a good tip for you to share?
I think sometimes visual is good for me. So if you guys can do like a pie chart or one of those thermometer stuff. Like I think there was even an example in the book where there was a lady who put it up on her refrigerator so she could see it every day. And then once she got it that crossed off in red, she like shouted it out in her kitchen. Like make it fun. It doesn't have to be something that's so tedious and awful and all of that stuff. If you even get your kids involved, they're going to learn what you guys are doing. Have them color in the thermometer. Get excited about it. I mean, he even says like this is the toughest part because it requires discipline, just like in our business. Like when you're working your business, after you get your first 2 loyal customers and then your first 4 loyal customers, those are your small wins, those your emergency fund, and maybe your first debt paid off. It gets a little harder in the business because you have to be consistent, but it starts compounding when you're consistent every day. You hear us say that in the business, right? It's the same thing with your finances. It's fun if you make it fun, or it can be tedious and awful if you make it tedious and awful. Yeah. So my suggestion is get your kids involved, get everybody involved. The more people that you have involved and excited for you, the better. Color in whatever. If you guys are a visual person, color it in. If you like spreadsheets like my husband and you want to do that, do that. But for me, I needed some visuals. And so we did it. Like I'm trying to buy a new car this month. So he
in cash.
Exactly, in cash. So he printed off a car and we've been coloring it in. So stuff like that.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. I want to just say this. If you guys have a hard time budgeting or have a hard time like understanding what in the world to do, I and Trista, and I'm sure the Kunklers, we're happy to like give our 2 cents. Like, oh, well, this is what we would do. If our budget looked like yours, this is what we would do. We're not telling you what to do, but if you're in a hole and you need some advice, like I'm not a certified financial advisor, but I know how to handle money. At least I feel like I do. So I would definitely be willing to give you my opinion and my 2 cents on what we would do if we were in your shoes.
Yeah. And in the back of the book, there are some and I don't have the workbook, so there might be even more like extensive examples in the workbook, but there are some general like budgeting samples and templates just to kind of get the ball rolling and get you started on kind of where to go. Okay, so when you're talking about budget and paying off debt and how much money you have coming in and going out, there are 2 ways that you can kind of either like cut out expenses or add more money, right? So if you're trying to have more of a surplus to put towards debt, there are 2 things you can do. So maybe, for example, if you read it, he kind of uses the example of how loggers used to have to like send logs down the river and it would get caught in turns. So they could either blow up the logs and then it would free up some space, or they could add more water. Okay. So blowing up would be like, you can maybe downsize or trade in the car you have, get a smaller payment on the car. If you live in an apartment, maybe you could find a cheaper apartment, or you could sell your house. Like there are ways that you can make your expenses less. But you guys, there are also real ways that every single person on this Zoom is a network distributor. So you can have more income. I mean, you think about it, if you would earn 3 fast starts a month, that's $300 extra every single month that you could put towards getting out of debt. So every single person on here has the opportunity to increase your income. So he talks a lot about you do what you have to do. So maybe you go pick up some extra shifts, or you go, sell some stuff to get more money coming in. But we all have an opportunity in our hands that we can easily make a couple $100 extra a month just by enrolling a couple new distributors and getting those fast starts. Then obviously your commissions are going to grow and all that kind of stuff, but fast starts I love, and I think it's just an easy way for us to make some extra money. So you can just increase your income, and that obviously is going, instead of having $400 extra, you could have $600 extra to put on that debt, and it's just going to make it go that much faster.
You can also do keto coffee too, like all the keto coffee samples. Yes. You guys can go out and start slinging wraps.
slinging coffee. We're slinging coffee. I just made $40 yesterday selling a bag of or some coffee samples. So honestly, like, you have the opportunity in your hands to make you could increase your income so much over the next couple months. Just show up and do more work, and you're gonna this will go a whole lot faster. Anything else we want to say about that? Don't dip into your retirement. He is very adamant about that.
Steer clear of that, dudes. Yeah. Like at all costs, let that stuff roll.
So once you start going and you're in, baby step 2, what if an emergency does happen? So say, I don't know, what's an emergency?
Say we had a fire.
Okay, we had a fire and we had to buy a new.
And just a bunch of new stuff.
Windows. We had to buy a new window.
We had to buy windows because our window caught fire.
So
burn up bad.
That's
just
really
a
bad
terrible
example,
incineration of a window.
If you have a real, genuine emergency and you have to dip into your emergency fund while you're doing your debt snowball payoff, you're going to restock your emergency fund and then get back to paying off debt. So that $1,000 has to stay there all the time. So that's
our foundation.
Yeah.
All right. We have to make sure that we have that. That's like the lifeblood. That's your dashboard to begin with. That stays full if at all possible, even if you have a terrible window fire.
If you have a terrible window.
So Nathan also added, you guys can cut cable too. Like that's like.
Oh yeah.
That was like the first thing that went.
Right.
Cable was gone. We lived on Netflix.
We lived on nothing. For a while, we went with no TV.
Yeah.
Like once we started doing the budget, we would find little ongoing expenses because I think we had a Kindle Fire several years ago, and then there was like a Shape magazine subscription on there. It was something small, but $5 or little stuff like that, and then maybe not necessarily cut the cable altogether, but call them up and say, hey, I've been meaning to play the whole cable game with you and tell you I'm canceling, and maybe you can save $60, $75 a month.
And you can do that.
Go through your budget, look down, and just kind of trim the fat a little bit. And just remember it's a short time. I'm doing this now so I can have some fun later.
Yep. I'm kind of ashamed of it, but this is all about transparency. We currently have something that comes off of out of our app store every month. I don't have a clue what it is.
It's $20.
It's like $19.99. I do not know what it is. It's some stupid app, and I still haven't checked into it to find out what it is. But see, that's $20 that we could gain every month that we just let go. Like we're stupid.
And I mean, think about when you think about $20 a month, most of us would be like, it's $20. That's $240 in a year that we don't know where it went.
That paid half of your HOA fee or whatever it was.
Right.
Just because we went and said, what's this application that we can do away with?
Yeah. So honestly, just digging in and looking at where your money is actually going is half the battle. And just knowing and then being able to identify that and tell it, okay, it's going to go here now. I'm actually glad you said that because we need to look into that. Okay. Anything else you want to say about debt snowball or budget or any of that? No?
Covered.
Okay. Any questions, you guys?
Yeah, please ask questions. We got a small group tonight, so if you have questions, fire them away.
Yeah. No? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I missed the first 2 Zooms, which I'm going to go back and watch them. Which I was looking at the Dave Ramsey books on Amazon. Which one is it? The book and the workbook that you're going off of?
So it really depends. I think Amanda has the workbook. Actually, you have the workbook. Do you think that it's helpful if they can afford it? Is it worth getting?
I haven't dove into it, honestly, but I think, of course, it would be helpful. I think it takes the important parts out of the book, and then it gives you exercises to kind of, I think the workbook would be good. But I mean, but again, if you only have a certain amount for this, I would strictly get the book.
Yeah. So it's Total Money Makeover, this book here. And honestly, the first time we went through it, Elisha still has all of his notes.
I'm here. Elisha, by the way. She's the only person
You guys know him by Eli. I don't know him by that name. So he just has all of his notes on literally scrap pieces of paper. So it's not a necessity for the workbook, but it definitely probably is helpful as you work through it.
You are going to learn not the behavior, because that's on you, but you're going to learn everything that you need to know to get out of debt on this Zoom, these Zoom sessions.
Yeah. So I've posted the recordings we've had 3 Zooms so far.
This is the third, right?
No. Yes.
Yeah,
This is the third. So, and I'll post this recording as well as soon as we get off. So you can have those. And if, you need to go back and watch them or share them with your team or whatever, those links are available.
What do they look up on YouTube? Are you posting those they're in all the team pages? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you will have access to those. And if you need a link and you can't find it, just text me or message me and I can get that to you. Okay. Any other questions before we go through?
Hey, Trista.
Yeah.
Hey, I was going to tell you, I got on Amazon and got my workbooks. It was only like $13, which is a lot cheaper than getting off of his site or off of Barnes & Noble. And the book was pretty reasonable. I think I paid like $25 for both.
Awesome.
So I think it breaks things down for you. So I like it.
You like the workbook? Okay.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yes, thank you for your input.
Love it. Okay, so after debt is paid off,
you have a party.
You have a big old party, and we're all going to celebrate with you because that's flipping amazing. Yep. And you made it, honestly, further than 90% of people in America are going to make it. So that is incredible.
You have a party after you can afford it.
Yes. Once you can afford it. But think about, literally close your eyes and think about what your life would look like and financially if you didn't have what you pay in debt. If you didn't have that, how would that feel? And what would that look like for your family?
God's honest truth, guys. I cannot tell you the relief. See, we used to get paper bills all the time. That's how we got all our bills. We didn't do anything online. We got paper bills in the mail. And it felt like we got a paper bill every single day. And I dreaded going to the mailbox because it was like, oh, which bill is going to show up today? How many bills are going to show up today? And we started.
And I'm thinking, oh Lord, I hope the Capital One bill doesn't come and he doesn't open it.
And we got to which I would have torn it up because I would have assumed that it was just a credit card offer, not a statement.
It was not.
So, but anyway, it got to the point where I actually started looking forward to the mailman coming and knowing that he wasn't dropping a bill off. Mm-hmm. It is the most freeing feeling you can ever have. And to know that you can accomplish that without even living the lifestyle you're living right now. I shouldn't say living the lifestyle you're living, but even making what you make now, you can accomplish that. And it's a really awesome thing.
I mean, when you read through the stories in this book and there are people making less than $50,000 a year, paying off astronomical amounts of debt in
hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt
just because they got focused and they decided to say no to the crap they didn't need. Yeah. That honestly is so inspiring. So every single person on here can do this. And us and the Conklers, I know we got out of debt when we were living paycheck to paycheck and struggling. So I know it's easy to be like, oh, well, you guys, you make good money now. You don't no, we did this when we were struggling. Mm-hmm. So you can do it when you're struggling, guys. You have to start telling your money where to go.
Do like a cut your credit card up thing on here?
Heck yeah.
That would be fun. Everybody bring your credit cards to the Zoom and let's cut them up. Right there and say, screw these dudes. This is over with.
So the other thing
I know for a fact that scares people on here.
Yeah, it does.
That thought makes you like, oh my God. Well, until you do that, guys, I love each and every one of you. But until you do that, you are not going to. You are using that credit card as a safety net, and it isn't a safety net. It is literally a coffin, is what you're holding in your hands. And be done.
And the other thing, so he specifically says, people ask him all the time, do we need to make sure it's paid off before we can cut them up? Nope. You go ahead and cut them up now.
Right now.
No reason to have them because we're not going to use them anymore.
If
we're
you
changing
have
the behavior.
If you have the card, you will use the card. I promise, even if you do it with intentions of not using it, at some point you will have lost your debit card, you will have no cash in your wallet, and you'll be at the gas pump. And you will use that credit card right then and there. And that's like the worst thing that can happen, because your $50 tank of gas becomes like a $300 tank of gas. And that sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I like how he uses like a weight loss journey as an example too. And this is a great way to think of it for us as people who like to lose weight and be healthy and stuff. The credit card is the same thing of like having, for me, ice cream sandwiches in my freezer. If I'm trying to lose weight and my ice cream sandwiches are in the freezer, I'm going to have a bad day where I'm stressful because I'm a stressful eater. I'm an emotional eater. I'm going to go to the refrigerator and get me an ice cream sandwich because it's going to make me feel good. It's the same thing with the credit card. So if you don't cut up your credit card, you're going to have your ice cream sandwich when you don't need it. And that's the same thing. So I like how they parallel those a lot. And so I just wanted to give you guys that example as well.
We got to get rid of reoccurring payments that are online with credit cards too. We got to change our card information out. We got to get these credit card stuff gone.
Yeah. I don't know that I ever did that.
I want to put in, I do.
Hey, we're good now. Okay. What do you think? Should we do chapter 8, or do you think that's good for tonight?
I think for me personally, I think that's good. I wouldn't mind going over it next weekend with you guys. Like, have you guys like get your budget ready, kind of get that in order, and maybe we could talk. We don't have to you don't have to share numbers if you don't want to, but we can maybe help you guys with that if you want.
I love that, because we're at the end of a month. So going into July, like between now and next week, do that. Sit down, have your budget, go through it. So if you have questions or if you have issues or, you're having something, we can help you work through that. But again, we don't have to talk numbers or anything. We'll be here as a resource, but, I love that. I think that's great.
I'm going to speak for Trista. I know that this was scheduled to be a 5-week deal, but if we've got to go slower so that we can do things like share our budgets and break things down more, we're willing to do this for as long as necessary so that everybody has this clear as can be. Yeah. I'm willing to commit to the group for as long as necessary until everybody's able to shake their head and say, we got it. We're ready to swim on our own. Let's roll.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions before we hop off for tonight?
Cool. No. Wonderful. Okay. I love it.
Just think of how much, your business is going to explode when you can start saying, look at all these credit cards I just paid off thanks to the extra income that I make from It-Works. Even maybe that's not the case, but just think how fun it's going to be able to tell people we're out of debt. We're debt free. Because you sacrificed and you did the work and you figured it out. It's the best feeling in the world. Fun. And I cannot wait to celebrate with you guys because it's going to be amazing.
I remember the time, and this will help you guys just think ahead. This happened before. No, it happened early on in It-Works because we had added an extra income. Although it wasn't huge at first, we had added an extra income to a debt-free life, which makes you feel like you're ultra wealthy. It really does. Like you're not, but you feel like you just have tons of extra money. And we had saved up, and it was our turn to go buy a car. And I mean, buy a car. And the car she wanted was a pretty nice size car, nice size payment. And we went in, and the lady looked at us as young kids, and she was like,
because I look like I'm 16.
Still. And we were, she showed us the financing options. You know how they show you the financing options in the cubicle, and they're like, here's this one, this one, and this one, and this one. And it was really fun to be able to say, but I don't see the one-time option on here. That's like, we want the one-time option. And she was like, you're going to pay cash for the car? And we were like, yeah, and it's going to feel really good. Here it is. So it was a lot of fun. And that's what's going to happen for you guys. Like, truly, it's how we're supposed to live. Screw payments. Let's buy cars.
Let's buy cars. Kunklers are buying a car, and I love it. I cannot wait to see what you guys get. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. All right, you guys. Well, we will see you next week. If you need anything in the meantime or you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out. We will see you guys later. Night.
Bye, guys.